Thank you, Vijay, for that introduction. Just before I came here, Ambassador Kapoor said you should speak in Marathi. That would be very dangerous because I can understand everything that you said about me and Ashok, but I'll talk to you later about that. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sri Ramdev, our distinguished guests, Sachin, Madhuvji, Abhijit Patilji, Shivaji Rao Kalungiji, all my colleagues from Wheels and Ideal Village from Stanford, and most importantly, the wonderful and patient and I'm watching you. Nobody has fallen asleep so far, so that is a good news. So all the students, thank you. So just before coming here, we had a tour of the RDF, and there is a small quotation and picture of Abdul Kalam, the late president. And he says, dreams are not what you see in your sleep. Dreams are not what you see in your sleep, but what keeps you awake at night. So when I came here and I looked at this wonderful audience here from this side, I wish everyone here can turn around and look at the people here. That is what should keep us awake at night. Because as Digvijay sir said, the future of India is sitting right here, not here. If 50% of the people are under the age of 25 and you are part of it, that means almost the total population of United States and Europe and Latin America combined are younger than the age of 25. Every one of us sitting here should be worried, what is the future going to look like? What is my grandson and my granddaughter going to live in? What kind of a world are they going to live in where there are so many young people looking for skills, looking for jobs, creating a better world? So that is what should keep us alive. Keep us awake at night. And what is very heartening is that we heard Sri Rongeji talk about his vision and what he has done at Sweri. And I'm glad that it has kept him alive, kept him awake to solve that problem. So congratulations to you for what a wonderful thing you have created here. So thank you very much for your dedication. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm very proud that Wheels Global Foundation is a very small part of that. And we feel very enriched by that. And I'm hoping that all of you who are able to contribute to making that dream come true will also feel the satisfaction of doing something small that each one of you can benefit from. And thank you, Sobas and Digvijay, for trying to do that as well. So I was asked to give a few words about what is Wheels and how did we come about. Now, most of us here who went to IIT are beneficiaries of the generosity of the taxpayers of India. We were very selfish. We went to a very good college, we got a very good education, and then we thought only about how we are going to make our lives better. But then in 2006, we were at what Digvijay mentioned, the Pan IIT conference. And the late President Abdul Kalam was our keynote speaker. And he was sitting there giving this talk and he said, "You guys talk. What have you done? What have you done for the country that gave you the education? And what have you done for the country that you have adopted? So it is not just about India, but what have you done for America also? We live in a global village. So this problem is not unique just to India, but the rest of the world as well. While India has a very young population, countries like Japan and United States and most of Europe, the population is getting older. So in that, there is good news and bad news. The bad news is that part of the world which has been consumers of technology are getting older. And the country that has got the potential to generate new technology is very young. So the future looks bright depending on which prism you look at it from. And that is where Sverige comes in, to solve these big problems. That is where we try to address what Abdul Kalam challenged us to do. He said, go and solve the big problems. But he didn't tell us what those big problems were. So we sat down and in a similar kind of a mode with thinkers and doers. And he said, what are the big problems that are common to India, perhaps United States and the rest of the world? And some of the statistics were mind-boggling. In India alone, if we do nothing, almost 400 million people will have no drinking water within 10 years. Which means water is a huge problem. And it is not just limited to India. In America, we have the same problem. There are droughts in California. There is water that is polluted in Detroit. There are children dying because of water pollution. So water is a big problem, not to mention Africa. So the first W in wheel stands for water. If anything we have learned in the last 2 years, almost 900 million people who live in villages have a very difficult time getting primary health care. So health is a huge problem. And affordable health care is an even bigger problem in the United States. What you take for granted in India as inexpensive medicines are extremely expensive in the United States. So health care is the H in wheels. So we said, okay, we got to find solutions for health care. Now you cannot have water, clean water or health without plenty of energy. And we cannot rely on fossil fuels. We cannot rely on oil. We cannot only rely on nuclear power because that is not very safe. We have to figure out how we can solve the energy problem with renewable resources, such as solar, such as wind, such as water power and so on. Because without energy, you cannot provide solutions for water and healthcare. So the first E in wheels is energy. And you need lots of skills and education to make and innovate solutions for these. And that's the second E, education. Think about it. I think Digvijay said that there are 10 million new children in this country. 10 million. I think the real number is joining the workforce. But I think the number of the population growth here in India is such that the number of people increasing in numbers in India is equal to the population of Canada and Australia combined. And therefore, educating these young people is a huge challenge. And in the West, when we go to America, there are a lot of people who are educated, but they can't find jobs. Okay, so their challenge is how do you design education in a way where future jobs can be created and people can find employment in that. And that is very important. So some of you should sit back and say, when you are my age, in another 50 years, what is India going to look like? What are you going to teach your children? Are you going to teach them plumbing and carpentry or agricultural farming, or are you going to teach them engineering and science and research? That is going to be our challenge. So we have to constantly re-engineer education itself so that we are relevant to the economy in which we are living, to the demands of society. So education is the second E. Now, when we come here from the United States and travel around the countryside and come to places like Pandharpur, people are very happy, and that is very heartening. And sometimes we sit back and we say, okay, these people here who live well and happily, what kind of livelihoods do they seek? What kind of jobs are they looking for in the region? What what kind of jobs will they be seeking 10 years from now? So rural livelihoods becomes a very important part of it. And finally, you have to do all of this in a sustainable way. Okay, so sustainability is an important part. So that is the acronym that WHEELS stands for. Water, health, energy, education, rural livelihoods, and sustainability. Now, so what do we bring to the table? I think we have talked a lot about SWERI, we have talked about IIT. Every one of us here, all of you and us included, represent less than 1% of the country's youth and people. Think about it. For every one of you here, there are probably 10 or more children who cannot have the opportunity to go to college like SWERI, leave alone IIT. So, our responsibility is not just to be job seekers, but job creators as well. And that can only happen through entrepreneurship and innovation. So every one of you here should think about it. Of course you should get a job. But even when you get a job, how do you create more jobs? Through innovation and helping that company to grow. So your contribution is not just about creating a company per se, but thinking about how do I create more jobs. For every one of me, how can I have 10 people who are also getting a living and earning? So we have an innate responsibility to create jobs. And what we have done within the Pan-IIT ecosystem is, we have come to realize that we have a phenomenal network of alumni. We just heard about Prashantji, who's an alumnus. Pretty soon you will grow up and you will also have jobs and you will also have an alumni network. And your biggest asset, your biggest strength is each other. Each of us comes with different backgrounds and different kind of experiences. But when we put it all together, that 1 plus 1 is not 2, it becomes 1 plus 1, 3 or 4. Because we can complement each other. So think about how you can use that network of contacts and alumni and people that you know. You can learn from everybody. You can learn from your parents, you can learn from your classmates, and you can learn from your peers. So that is the key strength that we try to bring to the table. We are not coming here with a big checkbook. That is very important. But what is more important is the knowledge. So, as they say in our Hindu, culture, tan, man or dhan. That is loosely translated into time, talent and treasure. So when somebody comes with money, it's only 1/3 of the equation. 2/3 of the equation is time and talent. And that time and talent comes from people who have the vision, who have the dream. Rangeji did not build SWERI with money alone. He had a dream, he had the time and the talent. He had all three ingredients. And where he did not have that, or had some more additional help, he found people like Digvijay to come and help him, and others, and his team. So think about, creating those networks of strength, networks of knowledge, and people who are willing to give time to build that future so that you can sleep easy and not stay awake at night. So the main mission of WHEELS is to find solutions to these 6 problems: water, health, energy, education, and livelihoods and sustainability. And where solutions don't exist, we want to work with people like you who have good ideas and do some research and find the right solutions. Solutions that will solve those problems. And when we talk about it, there are people who have need for those solutions. So we were talking to a pharmaceutical company and they said, we need water, we need clean water. And they said, we want it very cheap, so we can make the drugs very cheap. So even though they were not part of IIT, they gave us a very large grant to do research in making cheaper water. That's what we did. And that is what we want to do here at SWERI. Because if we can identify the talent that is here, the need, and the people who are looking for solutions, we can come to SWERI and say, help us with the research. That is where the contacts make a difference. Having said that, and given the time that we have, I'm not going to go into any examples because other speakers are going to be doing that. What we found is that, like I said earlier, everything is related. You cannot just have a solution for water or health or energy. They are all related. You cannot have one without the other. So we were inspired to adopt some villages in Gujarat, in Aravalli district, elsewhere. And we started a holistic program, which is very similar to what the gentleman here from Stanford is doing with their Ideal Village program, or even what Suresh Advani is doing with IIT for IIT. So we decided to join hands and work together and created a kind of a group that thinks about holistic development. And that is where I think, the folks like Niti Aayog and others have seen the value of organizations like WHEELS and Ministry of Panchayati Raj and so on, with whom we are partners. And in the process, there was one very important lesson we learned. And that is, if you want to implement a solution, it has to be something that provides an economic interest to the community. It is not just something that you do and walk away. There has to be an economic interest to the community, which means they have to make money. They have to make a living while doing that. So during COVID, we implemented some telemedicine operations, and Varsha ji is going to be talking about that. And we are doing that here in Pandharpur as well. Now, in terms of our goal, you heard what we are, what our mission is. We adopted a tagline called Technology-Enabled Philanthropy. There are thousands of people who are doing very good work in the field, but they don't know how to scale it. And that's where we come in with technology solutions that can help them. And our goal is to use that process and that model of collaboration between government, industry, academia, and NGOs to touch 20% of India's rural population in another 10 years or so. So that is our goal. So every little thing that we do, we try to look at it in terms of impact. And that is a very important part of what you need to do in your studies as well. That for everything that you study, or what you innovate, or what you decide to do as a business, as an entrepreneur, you have to look at what is the impact. Not only in terms of return on investment, but the return on the society. And how does it benefit the society? I think that is the common objective that we should all have, that we come up with solutions so that we can sleep easy and not have to stay awake at night, as President Kalam has suggested. So thank you very much for your very loving hospitality. Thank you, Rani, for your very warm reception.